Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
So good to be together. Hello to those of you out in internet land. So glad to have you with us as well. We continue with lighting the candles, bringing in the Shabbat light. And I'm going to physically light the candles, but I would really love if everybody would say the blessing with me. Blow it out with the mask on. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner Shel Shabbat.
On page 14, we come to the prayer Or Zarua. We've just lit candles, and Or Zarua says that light and joy are for those who are upright in heart. To have joy, we need to get past ourselves, to lean in and allow that. The entire first part of this service, Kabbalat Shabbat, is about opening up, sitting upright, and allowing ourselves to have Shabbat.
Bum biddy bum 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 biddy bum 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 bum.
Add another part if you like.
Bum biddy bum 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 biddy bum bum biddy bum
Come now to page 16, that's 1-6. The prayer is Zamru Ladonai. It's a psalm, and it says so many ways we can praise God. with harps and voices and trumpets and shouting? What if every one of us has our own ways that we could connect and praise? And what if we get to choose how to do that? The important thing is for us to show up and do that praising. Zamru Ladonai.
Zamru Ladonai bechinor, bechinor v'kol zimra, v'chatzotzot v'kol shofar, harim lifnei hamelech Adonai. Zamru Ladonai bechinor, bechinor v'kol zimra, v'chatzotzot v'kol shofar, harim lifnei hamelech Adonai. Yiram hayom umlo'o, tevel v'yoshbeva, והרot עמך וכף יחד הרים ירננו, לפני אדוני קיבל ישפוט הארץ, ישפוט תבל בצדק, ועמים במישרים. ירם הים ומלואו, תבל ויושביה, והרot עמך וכף יחד הרים ירננו. ירם הים ומלואו, תבל ויושביה, והרot עמך וכף יחד הרים ירננו.
And on page 20, coming to the end of Kabbalat Shabbat, Lecha Dodi, where we actually welcome Shabbat. It's what Kabbalat Shabbat builds to. It's allowing, literally welcoming Shabbat bride. Releases all the way we can do it. We keep, we remember and glorify and unify and plan and shake off dust and get up and awaken and let go of all our shame, and we rejoice. We not do all of these every week, but we can do whichever ones we're feeling today.
So we're going to do verses 1, 2, 5, and 9, and we'll stand up as we're able. At verse 9. Lecha Dodi, likrat kala, henei Shabbat, nekabela. Lecha Dodi, likrat kala,
לכדודי לקראת קהלה, הנה שבת נקבלה. לכדודי לקראת קהלה, הנה שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי בעורף אורי, 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 שיר דברי כבוד אדוני, עלייך נגלה. לכדודי לקראת קהלה, הנה שבת נקבלה.
Before you return to your seats, take the opportunity to greet one another.
Shabbat Shalom.
And we continue on page 22 with the Psalm of the day, Psalm 92, Mizmor Shir.
Mizmor Shir Yom HaShabbat Tov Lehudo LaAdonai Uzamer Leshimcha Elyon Uzamer Leshimcha Elyon Lehakir Baboker Hasecha Ve'emunatcha Ba'edom Alei Asur Alei Yayon Echinon Mizmor Shir Yom HaShabbat Tov Lehudo LaAdonai Uzamer Leshimcha Elyon Uzamer Leshimcha Elyon Uzamer Leshimcha Elyon Uzamer Leshimcha Elyon.
Transitioning from Kabbalat Shabbat to the evening service with Chatzi Kaddish on page 26. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, יעלם הדברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון, ובחיי כל בית ישראל, בגלה בגלה, ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך, לעלם ולעלמי עלמיה, יתברך, יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי לקודשה בריחו, לילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, תמירן בעלמה, ואמרו Amen. Together we rise in body or spirit for the Baruch Hu, the call to worship. La 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 אשר בדברו מעריב ערבים, בחוכמה פותח שערים, ובתבונה משנה עיתים, ומחליף את הזמנים, ומסדר את הכוכבים במשמרותיהם ברקיע כרצונו. בורא יום ולילה, גולל אור מפני חושך, וחושך מפני אור, ומעביר יום ומביא לילה, ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה, אדוני צבאות שמו. אל חי וקיים, תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני, המעריב ערבים.
On page 32, we come to Ahavat Olam. Kabbalat Shabbat was opening us. Ahavat Olam is what we receive. It's God's love. It's something we've worked to receive, or we have to work to receive. Receiving love is constant, but it's good and holy work.
אהבת עולם, בית ישראל, עמך אהבת, עמך אהבת. תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת, אותנו לימדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו בשוכבנו, ובמנו נשיח בחוקיך, ונשמח בדברי תורתך, ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד, כי הם חיינו, ואורך ימינו, ובהם נהגה יומם ולילה, נהגה יומם ולילה. ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים, ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל. שמו ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד.
Baruch Shem
כבוד מלכותו
לעולם את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך, ושיננת לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך וביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, הייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם אלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
On page 37, in the tiny, tiny text at the bottom, when people come to you for help, do not turn them off with pious words saying, "Have faith and take your troubles to God." Act instead as if there were no God, as though there were only one person in the world who could help, only yourself. Page 40, Michamocha.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נעזר בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אלף. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נעזר בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אלף. Who is like you? Who is like you? Who is like you? Adonai. Who is like you? Who is like you? Who is like you? Adonai. מלכותך ראו בניך בוקע הים לפני משה ומרים זה אלי אנו ואמרו אדוני לו לעולם ועד. Who is like you? Adonai. Who is like you? Who is like you? Who is like you? Adonai. ונאמר כי פדרנו את יעקב וגאלנו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל. Our people's nighttime prayer, Hashkivenu. Page 42.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Shalom B'hamidenu Shomrenu L'chaim. Spread the shelter of your peace over us. Guide us in wisdom, compassion, and trust. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Shalom B'hamidenu Shomrenu L'chaim. Save us for the sake of your name. Shield us from hatred, sorrow, and pain. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Shalom B'hamidenu Shomrenu
Page 44. Bishamru.
Yai bye 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 bye. Yishamelu bnei Yisrael Hashabbat Na'asok et Hashabbat Tamdiri Tolam. Yai bye 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 bye. Yai bye 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 bye. Yai bye 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 bye. Yai bye 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 bye. Beini uven bnei Yisrael oti leolam. Kishet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim ve'at haaretz. Yai bye 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 bye. Yai bye 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 bye. Yai bye 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 bye. Yai bye 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 bye. Uvayom hashvi'i Shabbat vayinapash. Uvayom hashvi'i Shabbat vayinapash. Yai bye 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 bye. Yai bye 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 bye. Yai bye 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 bye.
And on the seventh day, God rested and restored God's soul. On page 46 and the next few even-numbered pages, we have the first three blessings of the tefillah, followed by our own silent prayers. And once again, I invite you to rise in body or spirit. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Koneh HaKol, V'Zocher Chastei Avot v'Imahot, U'Mevi Geula Livnei V'Nehem, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיה הכל אתה רב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיה הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיה הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש. You may be seated. We continue silently. take some time now to think of those in our community, in our families, in our wider circles who are in need of healing. The Mishaberach prayer is found in the middle of page 253. And we have a long, long list of names. And even as we read this list, we know that there are so many others out there who are in need of healing. And I'll also invite you to share names. We think this evening of Ira Altschuler, Yosef ben Yossi Umiriam, Gloria Cadwallader, Daniel Chen, Alice Elias, Ann Fahey, Piers Haggard, Gary Henry, David Mordechai HaKohen, Naum Kaplan, Sylvia Kasparowski, Natalie Klein, Lee Kramer, Reverend Alfred Lewis, Susan Lothar, Hindasara Bathana Pearl, Brian Martino, Nancy McGahan, Jonathan Miller, Eitan Shir ben Mordechai Velea, Edward Mims, Glenn Myers, Jim and Joanne Newman, Till Oster, Lev Podorobsky, Adam Schusterman, Jackie Student, Akiva Ben Chaya, and Colleen Wolfson. Are there other names to share tonight? This week, we begin a new book of Torah. Last week, we concluded our story with Joseph in Egypt, and this week we start with a recap of all the sons by name. Shemot, which is the title of the Parsha as well as the entire book, all the sons who came to Egypt with Joseph already being there. Eventually, a new king arose who did not know Joseph. The Pharaoh imposed hard labor on the Israelites and took all kinds of measures to try and stop them from being overly populous. Today, I'd like to go far beyond baby Moses in the basket, beyond Moses, the adopted grandson of the Pharaoh, and even beyond the burning bush, to the time when Aaron and Moses are tasked with offering up God's demands to let the Israelites go, so that they may worship God. Pharaoh is extremely suspicious of these two men who showed up demanding the release of the Israelite slaves. Keep in mind that at this point, This Pharaoh was not the same one who had initially enslaved the Israelites. He was the next ruler. He didn't start the problem, which to him was not a problem at all. He benefited from it and perpetuated it. Pharaoh does not know the Lord, as he said. Why should he listen? When asked to give up his workforce, not only did he refuse to do so, he also doubled down on the misery. Thanks, Moses and Aaron, you're a real help. I wonder if they had sarcasm back in the time of the Torah. I mean, I feel like this situation would really have warranted it. Vayomer nirpim atem, nirpim. Al ken atem omrim, nilcha nizbecha l'Adonai. So that little inflection was mine. This was, Pharaoh said, idlers you are, idlers or shirkers. Because of that, you say, we will go and build altars to God. The word nirpim is translated as idlers or shirkers, and it is used a few verses earlier and doubled here. Pharaoh intentionally took away the means by which the Israelites could produce bricks more quickly. They now had to gather their own straw, but still produce the same amount of bricks. I don't know if they were really shirkers here. They were trying their best. Here's the trouble with Pharaoh during this particular reading of the Parsha. Of course, Pharaoh is awful. We are taught that from the beginning of our Torah study and our Jewish engagement. He's one of the main villains in our stories. But he is intentionally cruel and depicts the desire for spiritual practice as laziness. He delights in creating inhospitable and impossible working conditions. It might be that the Torah's later thoughts about working conditions came about as a direct response to our experience as slaves in Egypt. In Deuteronomy chapter 24, verses 14 and 15, we are told, "You shall not abuse a needy and destitute laborer, whether from your community, literally from your brothers, or from those who are strangers in one of your communities. You must pay him his wages on the same day before the sun sets, for he is needy and urgently depends on it, else he will cry to the Lord against you and you will have sinned." Later in the same portion, in chapter 25, we are told to keep honest weights and measures, rather than having multiple sets and using that to swindle people. And then we are told to remember what Amalek did to us, which emphasizes how important it is for us to refrain from disreputable behavior. Jewish law is very concerned with labor relations. Rabbi Jill Jacobs discusses this. She says, Jewish law differentiates between two categories of workers, the poel, the type of worker described who is paid by the hour or by the day, and the kablan, kind of from the same root as Kabbalat Shabbat, a contractor paid for finishing a specific project. The kablan is generally described as a skilled worker, such as a carpenter, repair person, or an artisan. This person is less dependent on day-to-day wages than a poel and has greater leverage. Such a person whose employer refuses to pay or pays too little can simply hold on to the item that they have been hired to make or fix. Therefore, most of the laws protecting workers focus on the category of the poel, or the worker who works by day or by hour and is at the mercy of the employer. The Talmud discusses biblical prohibition against delaying the payment of workers, commenting, "Why does he climb a ladder or hang from a tree to risk death? Is it not for his wages?" Another interpretation is that his life depends on them, indicating that anyone who denies a hired laborer his wages, it is as though he takes his life from him. Another example from the Talmud, in which a crop will be lost if not harvested that day and no other workers are available. A worker might not leave in the middle of the day without paying a fine, but in other cases, however, the rabbis permit the worker to quit, again, invoking the principle that we are servants to God, not servants to servants. More recently, Jews have a long history of union leadership. Even though sometimes there was various infighting, The Cultural and Secular Jewish Organization provides a short history of Jews in the labor movement, which I read the whole thing. It's actually not that short, but if you're interested in the whole thing, you can find it at csjo.org. Once again, that's csjo.org, and if you don't remember, drop me an email. The article says that in 1934, the Jewish socialist unions, together with the Workmen's Circle and the Yiddish newspaper Vorwärts, formed the Jewish Labor Committee, led by Baruch Charny Vladek, to sound the alarm about the rise of Nazism, organize a boycott of German exports, and bring endangered trade unionists to the US. Working within the more conservative American Federation of Labor, Vladek convinced the body to issue strong anti-Nazi resolutions. Here's how he appealed to the non-Jewish labor leaders. In the torture chambers of fascism, the Jew occupies a conspicuous and painful place. One of the more important reasons why all tyrants hate us is because of our long experience resisting injustice. Over 4,000 years ago, a Jew by the name of Moses led the first strike of bricklayers at the pyramids, and since then, all pharaohs are our enemies. Just as the Torah reiterates so many times, I probably should have counted it, I'll get back to you, that we were slaves in Egypt, so did Jews more recently and throughout history. But even more than the issue of Jews and labor relations is that gut punch from the Pharaoh, that the Israelites were shirkers for daring to ask for their freedom to worship. Pharaoh did not remember a time when the Israelites were not his slaves, and it isn't as if he had any experience making bricks, so he had no idea what the process was. He had no interest in the humanity of the people, and it's pretty terrible to be treated that way. As Jews, we should be placing a high value on fair working conditions. Why? Because we should remember that we were slaves in Egypt and that we were treated poorly on purpose. Furthermore, we should be placing a high value on spiritual engagement, however that comes about for different people, and enabling that for others. Why? Because we were slaves in Egypt, and Pharaoh called us shirkers when Moses and Aaron asked for us to be let go in order to worship God. Throughout the year, our Torah study reflects back to our time in Egypt and the ways in which we should have learned what not to do. Best wishes to everybody for fair and reasonable work, whether you are actually working or whether you're retired, as there's always plenty to do, as well as spiritual fulfillment in your lives. Shabbat Shalom. We begin to bring our service to a close with Aleinu on page 282, and once again, we invite you to rise in body or spirit. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד ארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובה מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אין remain standing for the Mourner's Kaddish, which is on page 294. Our thoughts turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. We think of those for whom we are in the period of Shloshim, 30 days past their death. We think of Norma Bromberger, Frank Carl, Harry Coffey, Rose Ferraro, Leslie Frank, Carolyn Goldberg, Edgar Landerman, Fallon Morris, Jack Paradise, Marla Perlman, Rita Reichlin, Walter Reese, and Lee Rosenblum. And we also think of those whose yahrzeit we mark this Shabbat: Lucy Amdor, Israel Brog, Jacob Cantor, Loretta Freiberg, Gary Gold, Frida Gottlieb, Evelyn Greenberg, Yvette Nan Catlin, Jacob Landau, Barbara Ann Markel, Julius Mazer, Natalie Myers, Genevieve Malloy, Linda Nord, David Oppenheim, Catherine Palm, Herbert J. Platt, Louis N. Provano, William Silk, Peter Spencer, Louise Ungram, Jeffrey Stephen Weiss, and Zichronam Livracha, may all their memories be for blessing.
Yitgadal v'yitgadash me'raba.
Amen.
V'yalma divrach yirate, v'yamlich malchute, v'chayachon v'yomechon, v'chayedechol Beit Yisrael, v'agala uvizman kariv v'imru.
Amen.
Yehesh me'raba mim, v'alam u'mei omaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yithaleh v'yithalal, shemei d'kedusha b'richu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechamata, damiran bi'alma v'imru.
Amen.
Yehesh lama raba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen.
Amen.
Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru.
Amen.
Amen.
Oh, you may be seated. Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru. Left you standing there. Thank you so much to Asher Grunberg and Greg Siegel for leading with me this evening. Thank you so much for Luke for helping us to look and sound good, both in the room and on the internet. Thank you to the Eads family for serving as the folks on duty to make sure that things go right within the building. And thank you so much to all of you for being here this evening.
And thank you to Molly for filling in tonight so many places. We close our service tonight with page 323 with Shalom Aleichem. It recaps our theme about who we let in and how we let in and what we let in. It encourages us to allow and let in peace to our souls from God, from angels, and from our own actions. Shalom Aleichem.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei HaSharet, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech, Malachei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Bo'achem leShalom, Malachei Kiddush is on page 5. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho b'yahava uvratzon hinchilanu, zikaron lema'aseh bereshit, ki hu yom tefila b'mikra'ei kodesh, zecher litziat Mitzrayim, ki banu b'charta ve'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim, ve'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu, baruch atah Adonai mekadish Shabbat. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Shabbat Shalom.